Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth event of the Day of the Climate Professional. For you that are coming right now, the day is a day that we, as YCL, with our partners, created to welcome all professionals that are working with climate change and as well promote the options that you that wants to start your career in the field can have. So we have a marathon of 24 hours of events. This is the main stage, but we also have parallel events in Portuguese and in English. And with us today to talk about regenerative agriculture, we have a very nice panel that will be moderated by Paula and Valter from Preta, Terra. I will pass the mic now to them. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Hello, Cassia. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Hello, everybody. It's very nice to have you here. It's a very special moment, a special event.
For us, it's a good morning, but well, I guess we are having guests here from many places. So, well, the idea today.
We'd like to introduce ourselves. We are Preta Terra. We're a startup that are trying to bring agroforestry to everyone, everywhere in the world. We are a hub of agroforestry intelligence based in Brazil, and we have several projects all over the world. And today we are here to introduce a very special people that are professionals for the climate.
This panel today, we are supposed to discuss a little bit more about regenerative agriculture and landscapes. And well, I guess Preta Terra, we've been working with this specific idea. Agroforestry is very much a regenerative agriculture technology, methodology, and not only for producing, for agricultural production, but also for landscapes regeneration. And well, we've been working with agroforestry not only in Preta Terra. I am Paula, I am a biologist and a forest engineer, and I have been working with agroforestry in many places of the world, in the Amazon, especially with indigenous people in the southeast of Brazil also. And together with Valter, we founded Preta Terra.
Yeah, I'm also a forest engineer. I'm specialized in local knowledge and to collect local knowledge from indigenous people. And I have a master's in agroforestry. And we very much believe that agroforestry can solve pretty much all the problems we have and actually tackling climate change, but bringing back the figures you had before industrial revolution and fixing carbon for real using our productive systems. Since we created Preta Terra, we have been 4 years now that we have been working very hard to tackle climate change, poverty, and life on land, basically, using agroforestry. And today is a very special day to invite all you here. You want to talk about who are you going to talk today?
Well, the people who are participating today in this panel, we have 4 people with us. Adam Newman from Favela Inc., Ben Valks, the founder of BJF, Black Jaguar Foundation, Christine Gould from Fox for Food, and Pedro Barreto from FAO. So good morning, everybody. How are you guys doing?
You're welcome.
Great to be connected here with you so much. I would like to invite Adam to explain very concisely about Favela Inc. How is this initiative that you are leading working, and how it's working for regenerative agriculture and landscapes?
All right. Well, good morning, and such a pleasure to be with you guys here today. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be sharing this moment and sharing a little bit about what we do to try and make the world a little bit more of a habitable place for us to be. Favela Inc. is a nonprofit organization, and our focus is really the development of ecosystems of innovation and impact, primarily focused on the favelas of Brazil, and at this time focused on the favelas of Rio de Janeiro. And for those people who are out there who are listening who have no idea what is a favela, it's essentially a low-income urban community And here in Rio de Janeiro, we're currently focused on Vidigal, and we have a hub of social impact where we offer a variety of different programmings involving incubation for local entrepreneurs and bringing education in different areas that we think can really help bring the favela to a place of autonomy and self-sustainability. And so when we look at favelas, when we look at these low-income communities, we don't think about it the way that a lot of people do, which is that favelas are a problem, but more that favela is the solution to a problem of inequality, of social inequality, of environmental inequality, of nutritional inequality that we see here in Brazil and all over the world. And so with regards to regenerative economies and regenerative agriculture, we recently created a project called Agro Favela. And the focus of this project, Agro Favela, is really to cultivate sustainable ecosystems in the favela. So currently we are offering a course. It's a 3-month free course for 100 families in the community where we're teaching nutrition, sustainability, agriculture, in order for people to understand better their relationship with the planet and understand their relationship with their food. And so during this course experience, we'll be doing a variety of different local visits to organic farms on the outsides of the city, as well as different institutions that are working with regenerative agriculture and health in general. At the end of this course, these families then have the opportunity to start work on cultivating their own food here in the community. And in partnership, we have a local ecological park that we're incubating that's called Parque Sitier, that originally was a trash dump with over 10 tons of trash. And the local community came together, removed that trash, and now we're installing a regenerative agroforest in this area in order to preserve the forest around the community and help generate different types of food that then can help create local economies and jobs and opportunities for the local community. So simultaneously, while we're cultivating this agroforest and we're teaching through sustainable education, we're connecting the two in order to facilitate the utilization of other pieces of land throughout the favela so that we can develop more community garden spaces, so we can create rainwater capture processes and also regenerate the earth by removing the trash that we find in different areas throughout the community. So that's in a short summary is Agro Favela. And we're really excited about this project. We're really excited about this possibility. And eventually in scaling this to as many different favelas as possible, because many favelas are surrounded by lush areas of forest and are in extreme need of better nutritional sustainability and accessibility, as well as economic opportunity, especially in these difficult times during the pandemic.
Beautiful.
Very nice initiative,
project.
Adam.
So now we open the mic for Ben Valks to explain a little bit more about Black Jaguar Foundation, that it's working here in Brazil, developing the biggest and most audacious restoration project in the Araguaia corridor. So Ben, please.
All right. Thank you so much, Paula and Valter, for being part of this great panel. And thank you for Adam for your amazing initiative in Rio. It's my pleasure to share in these 5 minutes a little bit about the Black Jaguar Foundation. My name is Ben Valks. Maybe I was born in Holland, but maybe my heart is in Brazil, in the Amazon and in the Cerrado. I will use a few slides to try to explain in a few minutes the mission of the Black Jaguar Foundation and how it impacts local communities and how it helps fight climate change. It's extremely ambitious project, and I will explain in a few with a few slides. Let's see if this will work, and if not, can you see anything?
Ik kan ze niet vinden op Apple Music.
Okay. If you cannot see any slides, no problem. On the back of my screen, there is a big image of the Araguaia Biodiversity Corridor. And I started this mission after I worked for a long time on an ambitious mission in the Middle East, had a lot of years of trying to find a black jaguar in the wild, spent 4 or 5 months living in the Amazon and in the Cerrado, trying to find this beautiful animal in the wild, but I did not see it. But what I did see was the drastic deforestation of the Cerrado and of the Amazon. So instead of going back to business, I decided to try to make, with a big team, true impact for the future of all the futures. So the Araguaia Biodiversity Corridor is a corridor along the Araguaia River in central Brazil up to Belém. The size is quite ambitious, 2,600 kilometers long, or in miles, 2,000 miles, and up to 40 kilometers. So we work within the forest code and we help landowners restore their degraded land. And we work in line with the forest code. So we are pro-farmers, and we really want to make sure that the landowners restore their land with the forest code. But as you can see on the map behind me, it is really required because 80% of the whole Cerrado is already deforested. And the project becomes a mission of hope, not only for the planet, but also a mission of hope for landowners, because the water is disappearing and we need all kinds of restoration methods. By mostly what we do is by indigenous trees, doing the full process of restoration, but also by regenerative agriculture, which one of the elements we like to focus in the future. So this is a little introduction of the Araguaia Biodiversity Corridor and our mission. And my lesson or advice I could give to any youth leader listening right now is to dare to dream big, because possibilities are there. And the second I would mention is prepare very well. And the third, many people just think about it, but they don't take action. So then take action and never give up. Because if you don't ever give up and believe in your dream, you can, and I'm sure all of us can make a great impact for our planet. And that's what we're doing with our mission, and we are very thankful to be part of this beautiful webinar. So I hope this has given you a first introduction. Paula and Valter?
There we are.
Hi, we're back here.
Great, Ben. Thank you so
Ben.
much. And thank you for the advice, because this panel and this event is focused on the climate professionals, people who are leading their professional lives to help the climate, to help the environment, to establish real sustainability. And we do have a lot of opportunities, job and career opportunities with that, but demands what Ben said, a lot of belief and hard work, because this is something that we are building together. So thank you so much for the introduction of BJF. It's been a pleasure. And now we open for Christine Gould from Thought for Food. Hello, Christine. Welcome. Thank you for being here with us.
Hi, bom dia.
Tell us more about TFF.
Yeah, I actually would love to introduce TFF, and I also have some slides, so I can try to share my screen for those. So hello, everyone, and happy Day of the Climate Professional. I'm so excited and proud to be part of this, inaugural event in the world. And Thought for Food is a global organization that's focused on empowering the next generation of food and ag innovators in every part of the world. So what we do is we support them in developing bold new innovations and launching those innovations in the form of startups and connecting their startups to potential investors, be they corporate collaborators or traditional investors or some other mechanism that can help them make sure that they can have impact in the world on these important issues. And I should also mention that at Thought for Food, we're very focused on changing our food system in a positive way. So we are catalyzing and supporting startups that are focused on impact and food system transformation. So I have a few slides, which I'd like to share. I'm going to try to share my screen. I hope the technology works. Okay, share screen. Let's see here. And I hope I'm not just going to see myself. Okay, here we go. Is it working? I don't think it's working. Oh, maybe now it is. Okay, well, I'll just talk through my slides. If somebody could maybe indicate in the chat box if they could see, if they can see my slides, it would be super helpful. Or Yana, if you're watching, if you could ping me, I would really appreciate it. Okay, so I mentioned what Thought for Food is, and I've mentioned that we work with young people. And I want to talk about why we work with young people and why it's so important for all of you in the audience who are young professionals interested in climate to be involved. It's because millennials and Gen Zs are actually made to be climate professionals. Millennials and Gen Zs are the largest youth demographics of all time. They're the largest demographic alive today, and they are also the most globally connected, well-educated, technologically savvy, socially engaged generations that the world has ever seen. So this, to me, represents an unprecedented potential to do positive, good things in the world. But we have to remember that we have to tap into this potential. We have to support it and nurture it and, you know, make sure that it can do what it has the potential to do. So like I mentioned, this is the largest youth demographic of all time and the largest demographic alive today. Most of the young people who are alive are in emerging economies. They are also very unemployed, and this is being exacerbated by the COVID situation. A large percentage are living in poverty, and so they're looking to entrepreneurship, not just because it fits very well with their ethos of, you know, kind of being a change maker, but also because it does provide an economic opportunity in the wake of, you know, not having traditional access to jobs. If we look at some of the attributes that the next generations represent, we see that they're entrepreneurial, purpose-driven, tech-savvy. I mean, millennials and Gen Zs have grown up as digital natives. They're very diverse, more diverse than any previous generation. Globally minded. I believe this is a large part due to being, you know, digital natives. They're unafraid to come in and ask beginners questions. They're open-minded, they're influential, and highly collaborative. This makes them perfect agents of positive social change. So we're here to tap into all of this potential, like I said, to be a launch pad for people and ideas to go out and become climate professionals, particularly in the space of food and agriculture. And I want to highlight very quickly some examples of some of the people and startups that we've supported that are helping to shift our food system towards positive impact. In the space of reducing waste, we recently worked with WTH Foods in the Philippines that's repurposing surplus crops that would otherwise go to waste into delicious and nutritious food products that also are helping to increase, you know, the experience that consumers can have with Filipino food, which if you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it. It's delicious. Agloner in Indonesia is also working to support small food vendors in a small village in Indonesia by connecting them with growers via digital marketplace. Protecting water, very important, because agriculture is a major, uses 70% of our water resources and is also heavily contributing to water pollution and also things like overfishing. Banu in Indonesia is helping the aquaculture industry become more sustainable and profitable through a micro bubble generator that is solar powered and fit for purpose for smallholder aquaculture farmers. Terra in Mexico has this amazing solution where they are actually using unused parts of aquaculture farms to grow a new protein source, but they're also doing it in a way that makes sure that wastewater is not dumped back into nearby streams. Regenerating soil, we have AgroSmart in Brazil that's offering amazing software that allows remote monitoring of things like soil and water use, etc., to allow farmers to automate their growing and optimize use of resources. Safi Organics in Kenya is creating a biochar that is actually helping to increase, you know, yields in a sustainable way. And of course, we love protecting biodiversity. And some of you may know Meli Amazonian Bee Network in Brazil, which is working with indigenous populations to help in the cultivation of indigenous bees while also protecting rainforest ecosystems. And Climate Farmers in Germany is bringing together regenerative farmers, entrepreneurs, and citizens to come together to solve some of the big challenges facing regenerative ag, especially around measurement of impact. We need more climate professionals, and we need more focused on food and ag. There's lots of reasons why food and ag is at the heart of every single SDG. It's the biggest lever we have to solve things like climate change, like economic empowerment, like women's empowerment, and more. It's also a very exciting sector to become an innovator in because there's a lot of interest in the investor community right now. It's a fundamental need that we humans have, and it's something that requires new thinking and new people to come in and shake things up. So I call on you, if you're watching today, to consider dedicating your career as a climate professional in the food and ag sector. And Thought for Food would be the place to start. We help innovators innovate with purpose because that's naturally what young people want to do, and we help them realize their potential. Thank you very much.
Amazing.
Thank you, Christine. Very good. Amazing
Great
presentation.
projects.
Yeah, it's amazing how Thought for Food can merge technology, youth, and food. So food is the very basic thing we all need, and the youth is there, and definitely the world will need more climate professionals.
Absolutely.
We have to be prepared for the times to come, and more professionals are needed. So it's amazing what you just present.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we would like now to call Pedro Boreto from FIO.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning, Pedro.
Hello, Pedro.
Want to know more about your work?
Thank you very much. Well, let me introduce myself. I'm Pedro Boreto. I'm the regional focal point on rural youth here in the FAO's regional office for Latin America and the Caribbean. As many of you know, the FAO, the Food and Agriculture Organization, we are a specialized agency of the United Nations that leads international efforts to defeat hunger. And these efforts are generally linked to agriculture practices and how we improve agriculture productivity to support the most vulnerable territories and most vulnerable people in the world. I think that the discussion that calls us today, it's very interesting because when we look back, we had over the last couple of decades, we have major improvements in agriculture productivity, and that was due to the need that we had to satisfy the food demand of a growing population in all over the world. No? But this progress has often come with social and environmental costs. And these costs, at the same time that were part of increased productivity strategy for agriculture is also now mining the productivity potential of our natural resources. And this brings that land and forest degradation are among one of the world's most pressuring environmental issues today. In FAO, under the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda and its SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, we are challenged to think on a new path towards a more sustainable relationship with our planet. No, so to overcoming this complex challenges that we face, we need transformative action. We need to embrace the principles of sustainability and tackle the root causes of poverty and hunger. And I think this is important. No, when we think on the need that we have to have more climate professionals and more people involved, we also need to think on how to spread this opportunity over the most vulnerable areas. No, we cannot, as the 2030 agenda says, we cannot leave no one behind. and this requires that together we can think on how the benefits from regenerative landscapes and all of the experiences that we are hearing today can be shared in order to improve all the human well-being and the livelihoods in the most vulnerable areas. I think this is part of our work here, is to look, for example, at the situation of rural youth in rural communities and assure that they can develop their life plans. They can be empowered in order to have their life plans available and all the options that they want to chase that are viable options. No, they're not just impossible dreams. And from FAO, to do that, we work very close with governments, with civil society organizations, with private sector, in order to bring these opportunities to foster innovation in all of its dimension, social innovation through new institutions, through new social practices and communities for developing rural areas, and give rural youth opportunities to build capacity, to increase their experience and their potential on climate discussions. But to do that, we need to create the conditions, and this is the main effort that we have here in FAO. And to create the conditions, we need to articulate and create opportunities for the dialogue. I think that we have to bring these discussions, these experiences to institutional space where we can dialogue on public policy and public programs that will give the conditions to bring more youths and more people to work in our case. No, I think that this is one of the main challenges, because when we look today to the most vulnerable areas in Latin America and the Caribbean, as an example, we'll see the rural areas as the most vulnerable, and we'll see the rural youth, the rural indigenous youth that are part of the most vulnerable people without opportunity. So our main concern here is how do we bring these opportunities, these employment opportunities, these innovation opportunities for the rural area. I think we must think on regenerative landscapes and strategies to overcome these challenges on a more inclusive way, and bring those experiences to rural areas and increase awareness with local communities there. And now we have a very good opportunity over the next decade, since we have the opportunity to build momentum, no, to upscale not only forest restoration but also to raise awareness of the challenge that we have to fight climate change in the United Nations decade of ecosystem restoration that will go beyond from 2021 to 2030. And it's an agenda that calls for actions in all of the sectors, no? And from FAO, our main goal is to create the conditions that those sectors, public, private, civil society, can have comprehensive dialogues and bring comprehensive cases, new policies, legislations that will support investments in restorations, in protocols for restorations that will be tailored for specific landscapes. But we also think that we should tailor those opportunities for specific contexts in the most challenges rural areas that we have here in Latin America. I think that the call for attention that we have in all of the organizations is how to bring more and better opportunities for the rural youth, for the rural communities, in order to allow them to develop their full innovative potential. And I think that this also is an opportunity to think on new investments, on new startups, on new strategies that will allow us to reach those areas and develop their full potential. I think this is one of the challenges that we have here in Latin America. This is part of our work and the idea to collaborate with several actors is there. I think that we all have this call for action from our different spaces, but the goal is common. So I think from FAO we are full available to keep discussing, to keep creating these opportunity spaces, and keep bringing these rural areas perspectives for this for all of the debates that we are going to have over the next years on this topic. Thank you very much.
Great.
Thank you, Pedro.
Thanks, Pedro. I think this macro point of view is very important for us to build everybody together on the same focus, the same north, right?
Yeah, that's very important. The work of FAO is very important. Thank you, Pedro.
And I think understanding all the points, all the projects we have here today, we have a few comments, a few questions for each one of you. Do you want to start?
Yeah, I'd like to start with Adam Newman from Favela Inc. I think, first of all, favelas are densely populated. So any action you have in a favela, you have an astonishing impact on climate all over the world. So it's very important, I believe, to focus on food sovereignty. So Adam, what would you like to emphasize or to stress here to us that are the main challenges and how you could advise philanthropists all over the world, not only in Vidigal, but in all favelas that you have on planet, to make that successful, to foster your solutions, how they could help?
Well, thanks, Valter. Thanks, Paula. I appreciate the question. Yeah, for sure. You know, favelas definitely are composed of very large quantities of people living in very close proximity together, and naturally that means there's a consumption of a lot of resources. And majority of favelas were created totally organically. So the water systems, the electricity systems, everything that was developed was not planned necessarily, right? It was just created as need and demand was necessary. So I think it's really important that we take that into consideration whenever we're trying to cultivate anything within a local community. But one of the core challenges really in working in favelas is how do we develop close and intimate relationships with the people in the community in order to implement solutions together? Because, see, I've been living in the favela for almost 6 years, 9 years living in Brazil. And you know, as you can tell from my accent, I'm originally from the United States. But what I've most learned in this experience, I've visited over 120 favelas. And what I've most learned about this experience is the majority of major projects by either the government or nonprofit organizations or even the private sector fail due to a lack of integration of the local people in the community, due to a lack of ability to build relationships of trust and collaboration. And so the government comes in and they create an idea and then they try to implement it and it works for a little bit of time and then the money starts to fall apart and then all of a sudden it's gone, right? So the key to success in any type of social impact project in the favela is to making sure that it's autonomous and it comes from the inside out. People need to be owners of the solutions. If it feels like somebody else is just coming and imposing their will, then people in the community aren't going to embrace that idea. And so I think that would be the biggest suggestion I would give to philanthropists or anybody trying to create positive social change in a favela or for that matter, anywhere in the world. It's about, you have to integrate the local community into the process of the development of your solution so that their ideas are represented in whatever it is that you're implementing. And that also includes training and capacity building and bringing new skills and resources so that those people can utilize that knowledge and apply it through their own lens of being a local in that community and coming up with their own ideas and solutions to fixing some of the problems there, and actually understanding what is the clear connection between the problem that is going on here and the quality of life that I have.
That's very good, Adam. Yeah, it was very good answer. I'd like to stress that we are very much aligned, because solutions, working with agroforestry, you see that it has to be adherent, has to be bottom top. So all solutions have to come from inside, and integration is the answer. So I find that what you are stressing here for everybody should come across all projects. When you're talking about the climate and environment and regenerative agriculture, all kinds of solutions like permaculture comes together when you talk about favelas. So everything has to be integrated, and people has to embrace and to feel that is part of their challenge, but also a solution that they build together.
Yeah, this I think that in the last 20, 30 years, we learned a lot from what you're mentioning. In the beginning, people were willing to come to communities, to new places, and offer a solution for them. But now we have to understand their situation, understand the skills they already have, the knowledge they already have, and build something with them. And this is a very important part of our work with agroforestry, but I feel super contemplated by what you mentioned just now, because it's the same logic. Anywhere you're going to work, any idea you have, any new community you're working with, you have to understand their needs and to engage local people, make them feel part of the project, and so that the project will work by itself. We just live, we start, we're just the facilitators, but the project is all theirs.
Yeah, the solutions
That's
are
beautiful.
there. We have to mine them properly, find and put them on.
And I guess this was a great point you mentioned, and connects a lot about with the question I want to make to Ben as well from BJF. Ben, are you there? Let's see.
Hello, Ben.
Okay. Because I was wondering, the Araguaia corridor, it's a huge territory. It's very big and super diverse. We have all kinds of stakeholders, smallholder farmers, large, very big farms. And to each stakeholder, you need to have an approach and to get to them and say, okay, do you want to be a part of the project? Do you want to restore your land and everything? So I'd like to understand, how is Black Jaguar Foundation strategy to get to each one of these stakeholders and engage them to the project? How do you make them feel that they are part of the project?
Thank you, Paula, for this great question. Of course, there are, as you say, many different kinds of stakeholders, from the very small landowners of maybe having 1 hectare in the north, in the Amazon, and maybe in the center, there are farmers up to 50,000 hectares, some of them even 100,000 hectares. So we cannot restore the entire Araguaia corridor in 5 years. So we have to start somewhere. And where we start is in the center of it, north of Ilha Bananal. So the Ilha Bananal is the largest river island in the world. It's still, fortunately, intact. And that's the area where we start the restoration with and partner with landowners. So the areas which we do restore then have already a positive impact for the river island and for the farmers themselves. So it is definitely a challenge to involve all the landowners, but what we see is that we are here to bring them a solution, not from outside. Actually, it's a little bit the same as Adam said. It has to come from bottom up. So we focus on the situation for each farmer. And one issue is that they have to apply and meet the standards of the forest code. So we go to each farmer, map their area, and quite a few of them still have a deficit. So they do still have to restore part of their land to meet the environmental regulation in Brazil. So it's important that we give them the solution. So we map the area, we analyze which part of their land needs to be restored to meet the forest code. And then I think it's important that we partner with them and really analyze which method of restoration is the best way to bring back their piece of land. And at the end, and of course, we work with 5 methods of restoration. Planting seedlings is one, direct seeding is another, and maybe a bit less sexy to the outside world, but sometimes natural regeneration is also, you know, it can do a great job when it is possible. So that's why I think we are fortunate to have a great team of forest engineers, environmental engineers. We work with, I think, all the key technical partners we can dream of in Brazil. So definitely it's bottom up. And another element I want to emphasize is, at the end, it's the land of the farmer. It's not our land. And in the past 40 years, as you can see, most of it has been already deforested. So the water levels are going down and down. And the cost of fertilizers for the farmers to keep their soil healthy is going up and up. Almost in many cases, and yeah, as you are a specialist in regenerative agriculture, the soil becomes almost a junkie for fertilizer. So when we bring back part of the natural forest next to their agro business, it becomes actually an investment in their own farm. So this applies very much for the medium and the large farms all over the Araguaia corridor, and more for the smaller landowners. We definitely will bring more commercial species into the restoration. So, I mean, like fruit trees from acai or baru nuts, or, I mean, there is so much potential, and I think it's our job to give this knowledge to the landowner, you know, because not everyone knows. So I think there are different strategies, but it's at the end, where we start is to see the problem from the landowner's point of perspective and to give them the solution. And I think, and then they become the ambassadors of the corridor, which we are seeing right now. So fortunately, we are building now our 3rd nursery for native trees, only with native trees, around 42 species, which we're going to grow. And the next nursery will have a capacity of 500,000 seedlings every year. So anyhow, it's needed, but anyhow, we are making the steps forward.
Yeah, I think that, well, it's a huge challenge, but I think that this idea that you have to plan each land, to organize, to understand whether they are according to the forest code from Brazil, which is a very much focus on the preservation legislation here in Brazil. If landowners follow the legislation, they will be able to keep their soil and the landscape healthy. But I think that's it. Do you want to comment?
Yeah, I love the point you made, Ben, because everything goes down to empowerment and belonging. So like Adam is working in the favelas in very densely clusters of human beings living together. You are going across probably, I mean, the biggest corridor on earth that you're trying to restore. And you go across like several pieces of lands that are from smallholder farmers to like those big farms. But everything goes back to belonging. So people have to understand how to restore and why they have to restore our lands. And a very good point you made is sometimes nature just have to work by itself. Yeah. And we have to make it possible. You have to let nature works. So that's a very good point to all the climate professionals, especially youth that are now looking towards having a profession, have a life that has a meaning, to look towards nature as a partner. So I love the way you picture that, and you are very much looking forward to work together and put this corridor to work here in Brazil.
Yeah, I think these different technologies we have to plant, to restore, we don't need to focus only on planting seedlings. People, and especially funders, they look forward planting seedlings, but we have so much more methodologies, so many more methodologies to implement that are much cheaper and that bring results much faster even.
Yes. And if I may add, thank you, Paula, fully agree. I would like to add one point, which I like very much what you say. You mentioned, it would be great to already partner. And I think this is also a message, I think, from our side to the listeners. It's all about collaboration, because we have only one planet. You know, I want to correct a little bit about the longest biodiversity corridor on Earth. We hope it won't be the longest. You know, I hope there will be so many more. And this could be just one. And even if we are number 20, it's the best, because that means youth leaders took the initiative to create other biodiversity corridors in the world. We can make a corridor from Amsterdam to the end of Siberia. You can make one in Africa, in anywhere, and even in Brazil. There are so many rivers which are drying, you know, and a biodiversity corridor could help restore life around these river basins. So I think collaboration is key, and science and daring to take the action is second.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yeah, we need corridors. We need to be connected, and nature needs to be connected too. That's the point. The fragments of forests are not forest itself, but when they are connected, the whole sense of biodiversity is huge.
Yeah.
And I would like to keep like the conversation around the dialogue, talking about everything you're saying is going to people, is going especially towards the smallholder farmers and forest-dependent people. So Pedro from FIO was saying about the macro strategies that FIO are using. I'm wondering how they will land in the fields, like for smallholder farmers, but also for forest-dependent people in tribes, especially how are FIO tackling the youth on these small villages and how they could work to help to foster climate solutions.
Yeah, I guess the idea is how these strategies, these policies that we build in the macro sphere, how can we translate them into the local, the micro action?
Thank you very much. I think it's the key point is not how these policies will go down, is how we're going to build those policies, and some of the comments that and the experiences that you were mentioning and all the dialogue that we are having are focusing on community led alternatives and solutions. And I think that the policy also should be built from a bottom-up perspective, and this is key to generate effective solutions with the institutionality and reinforcing the role of the state on promoting those community solutions. So FAO, our perspective is how are we going to create opportunities for policy dialogue that will lead to policy design and policy implementations. As all of you are saying, there won't be a global solution that there will be a single recipe for everyone. We have to go to the communities, we have to discuss with everyone, and we have to assure that everyone has voices. This is, I think, it's the most challenging part of the dialogue, because when we go to the communities, when we go to different spaces, there's also a tendency already of the same people from the communities to participate from the organizations. How can we empower the youths? How can we empower the rural women? How can we empower the indigenous people that lives in those rural areas to participate in the dialogue? I think this is also part of the challenging, but the idea is to, from the small holders, the family farming, from this rural territories, from these rural communities, dialogue, design together and implement together. I think from the territorial perspectives is where are we going to find the answers, and this is key to any public policy in any area of the state action. No, how to from the beginning involve the community, and this is not only for public policy, but as Ben mentioned, no, for any kind of project that we have to design the project with the community. Sometimes we have we know practice that someone gets a project, goes for the community. Let's change the way of doing projects. Let's do it together. Let's discuss it together, and let's find the solutions together. I think this is key for any strategy, and this is the base for any public policy. I think that dialogue at the community level, it's crucial for the future, and it's crucial for us to create the conditions to do that. I think that this is one of our biggest challenges today.
It's very good.
Great.
Dialogue is the answer.
And I think that understanding all these strategies, especially to work with local communities, with smallholder farmers, with the youth in rural areas, we have all of these strategies to focus on regenerative agriculture, to have this new kind of production, to build these clusters of production in the landscapes, so to regenerate landscape and regenerate production. And now I would like to ask Christine, how do you think, Christine, that the role of the food system, how do we translate all these strategies that we're building for agricultural production systems? How can we change then the food systems? How can we put these changes in real action so that people, the consumers, the people that eat, they will buy these agricultural products from the regenerative agriculture? What are the strategies that we have to do with in the food system that can support these changes that we are looking for in the agricultural systems?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing I just want to say, which is kind of in support of what all of the other previous speakers said, is the importance that there is no one-size-fits-all solution, and that we really do need to foster locally relevant solutions and look at these topics and challenges really through the lens of local communities who deeply understand their problems. And also, what we try to do at Thought for Food is really bring together a global community of collaborators who can share ideas and best practices and lessons from their parts of the world to help to accelerate local efforts. And that knowledge sharing, that mashup of ideas and insights, and like I said, learning, can really lead to new breakthroughs on everybody's front. So it's like, you know, that think global, act local, but we call it like glocal. It's a little bit of a cheesy word, but I think it really is more true than ever. The fact is, I mean, we've seen our political systems kind of reverting back to nationalism, but the cat is out of the bag, like I said, because of digital connectivity. The fact that young people today are by and large, and of course there are people who, you know, aren't connected to the internet, but we're seeing that rapidly change as more companies and, you know, providers are trying to make sure that that digital divide is bridged. But once you're digitally connected, you have the opportunity to learn from and share with people all around the world and be inspired by their ideas, and again, create new innovations that are greater than what we have today. So I just want to like build on these points about the local, you know, solutions that are needed and how they can be enhanced through global collaboration. And so when it comes to the food system, I also think that there is a big opportunity for what everybody here is doing at the local level to inspire consumers and educate consumers about what they're doing, again, through powerful technologies. And I'm not saying that digital is the answer to everything, because I want to, again, recognize that there is a digital divide, but there's a lot of effort to bring people online. But if you can use digital technology to educate consumers, and we're seeing that happen more and more, you can create some really profound changes. For example, I live in Switzerland. Everyone loves to go to the farmers market here. It's a great place to connect with your local growers and understand who grew your food, what practices they used, and, really understand who you are supporting with your money. With the power of some of the technologies we have today, you could create a global version of a farmer's market. Ostensibly, we could be live streaming to growers around the world, hearing their stories, hearing their solutions, hearing their hopes and dreams for food systems that can connect us to, the products that we buy, even if they aren't from our local farmers. Because, there is this global system, and I understand that there are problems with it, but it's not going to go away anytime soon. So how can we make the best of it? And I believe it's connecting consumers and growers. I mentioned a couple of companies too that are also making big efforts to, connect local growers with buyers, and again, optimizing production and supply so that there is less waste. But they're also using their platform to tell the story of the growers, especially in these COVID times, what they're going through, and again, the practices that they're using and why they're doing that. Demystifying agriculture and sustainability is something we need to do for consumers. And I believe storytelling that can be enhanced and propelled en masse by digital technologies can play an amazing role. And as young leaders, I mentioned we come hardwired as digital natives, people who are purpose-driven and who want to know the why behind our products. We're not just buying for cost like previous generations. We're not just buying for, legacy brands. We're buying because we want to support systems that support our values. So it's really important for companies that are starting and trying to shift the food system to think about connecting growers, consumers, and telling stories that aren't just marketing ploys, but really display the why and how of that production system.
Great.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christine. I love the way you foster inspiration through storytelling. I think that's the best way that you can see food, technology, and youth working together. So there's a lot to do there.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think that the conclusion, I think, of this panel, of all these amazing initiatives, is that to make these changes real, to really foster real change into regenerative agriculture and regenerative landscapes, to regenerate all these landscapes, we need everybody to engage. We need to engage communities, we need to engage farmers, we need to engage the consumers, and most importantly, we need to engage the professionals that are going to work to make this change happen. So everybody needs to be connected and focusing on the same goal, that is the regeneration of the landscapes, and to produce at the same time. How can we produce and regenerate landscapes around the world at the same time? That's the challenge we face.
And technology is there to help us to be together, to connect it, not to separate. That's the technology solution. We can use agroforestry, regenerative agriculture to put everybody together. Let's tackle climate change. Let's revert and let's work for the climate.
Yeah, I think I just want to thank everybody who participated in this panel. Ben, Christine, Pedro, and also Adam, thank you so much for showing people here a little bit more about your projects, your point of view. And in the end, I think we are all reaching the same goal together.
And in the same planet. Thank you so much. You have amazing solutions, each one of you.
Thank you, everybody.